Hi, this is Nikolai from Bunker Samples, and this is Offworld Volume 2. But this is also Offworld Volume 2. It may be hard to believe, but all the sounds you just heard were made from sampling a single string. That, of course, is the string of the Dan Bo, a Vietnamese monochord that was also the sound source for Offworld Volume 1. If you don't know what a Dan Bo is, I encourage you to go and watch the walkthrough for Volume 1, where I go into detail about the instrument and how it's played. It's important to note that Offworld is not a Dan Bo library in any way, shape or form. I simply chose to use the Dan Bo as a sound source, mostly because it has a unique sonic character and because of the pitch handle. To record the source material for the sounds in this library, I played the Dan Bo in all the wrong ways. I bowed it, I plucked it, I tapped it, I used an E-bow, which is basically manipulating the string with an electromagnetic field to get really long sounds. And for all the sounds, I manipulated the pitch handle in a sort of slightly unpredictable but human way. All the samples were performed and then processed with reverbs, delays, distortion, all sorts of effects to create the sonic world that is Offworld Volume 2. I would describe the sounds in this library as organic and non-static. They can sit in the background and without drawing too much attention to them, but there's always something going on there. The sounds come in this new shape engine, which lets you layer and manipulate two sounds together. But let's turn the second layer off and just hear a few sounds without any processing or effects on them whatsoever. This is just a pure E-bow with a little bit of pitch wobble on it. Here's a more multi-textured and brighter version of that. And as you can hear when you just hold the sound, there's always something going on, but it's not overwhelming. It's not drawing all the attention to itself. The sounds are loosely organized in characters, so we have the most mellow and subtle at the top, and then things get progressively more distorted and dirty as we go down the list. Unstable Beauty is another of my favorites. Evolving Backwards is actually a plucked sound, but I cut the transit of all the samples, reversed them, and then I just layered them with themselves 9 or 10 times, and there's actually no reverb or anything on this patch at all. That it sounds like this. So again, living and breathing, but also kind of subtle. Buzzing waves, same principle. Nice low bass on that as well. Lo-fi waves, same principle again. sparkly synth. Broken oscillator. This is a mono patch and actually one of my favorites because you can do a lot with this when you start adding effects. The big bus is another distorted one. Muted cloud plugs. So now let's talk about the new shape engine that these sounds come in. It's a dual layer engine and you select the sounds for each layer with these menus. The sounds are the same in both, and that is so that you can layer a sound with itself. An obvious use for that is to plug one octave. Here's without. And now we add an octave. But as we shall see later, you can also add different effects to the same sound, which is really useful. Let's select something different here. We got your standard volume, pan, and tune controls. Tune goes in octaves, plus minus 3. And then a standard ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, release. Here's a tip for that. If you hold Alt Option and drag on the ADSR controls, you can control both layers at the same time. You can of course also set one with a really slow attack and another with a fast, if that's useful for the sound you're trying to create. Below the sound controls, we have the heart of the engine. These are LFOs and you can draw any shape you want. If you want to draw a straight line, you just right click and drag. This button turns the LFO on and off. And if you want a classic sine wave, you click this button. If you click it again, it inverts the sine wave. Here you set the speed, how long it takes for the LFO to cycle through one cycle. Right now it's going at a cycle speed of 1/8 note. But you can change that. You can drag up and down on the 1 all the way up to 64, or you can just double click the number and type whatever you want. So now this LFO is running at a cycle speed of 3/8 notes. But you can also choose another sync value. Now it's running at 3/4 notes. Now it's running at 3/2 notes, and so on. These two LFOs can modulate a bunch of different things for this layer, and these two can modulate a bunch of different things for this layer. So what can be modulated? Well, any knob that has this slider and the two dots next to it. The two dots signify what LFO is modulating this control. So this is being modulated by the upper LFO, but if I click the two dots, now you can see it's been modulated by the second LFO. Right now, nothing is happening because we haven't set the intensity. To set how much modulation you want, you just drag up and down on this slider. This is at 100%. But we can go less than that. As you can see, the little green circle inside the control shows you exactly what's going on. So let's say you want demodulation to start from here and just go down and up again, but not go past this point. This center line always represents where you're starting your modulation from. So if we do something like this, now we'll just go down and up again. You can also invert the modulation by dragging down on the slider. The easiest way to show that is if we draw a ramp shape, and let's get it going a little bit quicker. If we drag it up to a positive value, now we get the kind of modulation we see in the LFO. So it goes down and then it jumps back up. But if we drag this down, now it will do the opposite. The LFO is going down, but because we've inverted the modulation, the volume is going up and then jumping down again. Let's get a little bit of pan modulation going, and let's choose the second LFO for that. And let's do a bit of modulation here as well. And let's get this going a bit quicker, maybe very quick. So as you can see, it's very easy to quickly experiment and come up with something new, even by just modulating volume and pan. You can also do crazy things like this. And let's get it go even quicker. So as you can hear, the engine will handle it just fine. You can also use it to create rhythmic effects. So I'm just going to do something like this real quickly. Let's maybe go a bit slower. But volume and pan is not the only thing that can be modulated. You also have 4 effects per channel, and signal flow is through effects 1 into 2 and so on. To load an effects, you just click here, and now you have all these effects you can choose from. Let's select tape saturation. Each effect has a predetermined parameter that can be modulated, and for tape saturation, it's gain. So let's see what that sounds like. Let's do something a bit more subtle. Like that. If you select filter, you can modulate the cutoff, but you can also change the filter type to any of these types. So there's a lot you can do with that. If you select, let's say, a time-based effect, you can set it to free. So now the time node is telling you the speed this delay runs at in hertz, but you can also sync it to the host tempo with any of these values. So if you select half note, now the delay has a tempo of 1 half note. We also have a convolution reverb, and if you select that, you can modulate the mix, and you can select any of these impulse responses. And that can really change the sound quite a lot. Now, convolution is a very processor-intensive operation, so if you have a lot of convolution reverbs going, you're going to need a hefty CPU to run it. So I have just quickly selected a bunch of random effects and assigned modulation to some of them because I want to show you what I think is really great about this engine. And that is that you can see all the LFOs and everything they're modulating on one page, so you can always see exactly what's going on. So I hope you can see how easy and fun it is to use this engine, and how much you can take these sounds and really make them your own, really transform them into something that's unique to you and your music. It really is a lot of fun, and it's very easy to mess around with. But there's more. Right now we're in the channels view, but we also have master effects. Now, to save your CPU from a cruel death, master effects cannot be modulated. But with any knob in this library, you can right click, learn MIDI CC, move your controller. I'm moving my mod wheel, and now I have a filter on the master channel that is controlled by my mod wheel, which I think is really useful. The only thing to be aware of with that is that the knob retains its MIDI mapping even if you close the effect or change it to something else. So if you forget about it, all of a sudden your mod wheel could be controlling something completely different. We have a couple of other global controls. Velocity control right now is turned off. That means that all the notes you play will play at the same volume no matter how hard or soft you play on your keyboard. But if you turn it up, the volume of each individual note you play will respond more and more to how hard you play on your keyboard. Expression is a global volume control, and as you can see, it comes pre-mapped to CC11, but you can remove that by clicking here and learn it to any other controller if you want. Lastly, we have this little question mark here that is a quick help. If you forget everything I said in this video, don't despair, you can always click on that and this will tell you exactly what everything does. Now this is an image overlay, so you can't actually access the instruments until you click the question mark again to make it go away. And of course, for the channels view, we also have a dedicated quick help for that. So that's Offworld Volume 2 and the new shape engine. I hope you get to enjoy this library, and thanks for watching. See you next time.